What you do every day actually defines what you'll achieve.
Vulnerability of a brand is its biggest strength.
I think brands have realized that just as human beings, if they project themselves as too perfect or have a spin on everything, then consumers and their stakeholders may just think that they're same, bland and not that interesting.
How do you think one can really draw the fine line between letting life happen and making things happen?
I don't think you have to nail it down in terms of I need to be marketing director by age 37 and I need to have X lakhs in my bank account by so and so.
Meet Lulu Raghavan, President APAC at Landor, only on Policy Bazaar presents Over to Her. Stay tuned. Hi everyone and welcome to Policy Bazaar presents Over to Her, the podcast where women talk money, power and the financial moves that change the game. So grab a seat, take some notes and get ready to own your money, your power and your future. Over to Her starts right now. Today we've got an absolute powerhouse in the house. Lulu Raghavan, brand and design evangelist, president of APAC at Landor, an all-round game changer. In a career spanning 24 and a half years, she's climbed the ranks from junior manager to becoming the first ever female and first person of Indian origin to lead Landor in the APAC region.
Hi Yvonne.
Hi Lulu, so good to have you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Okay, and I can't wait to get started. Lulu has had an incredible journey, leading change and driving innovation. From career-defining moments to the weight of leadership, this segment is all about getting to know the person behind the title in the spotlight. So let's talk about your mantra, play every day, and you sort of have this philosophy that the way you live your life is the way you live your days, and that sort of just hit me hard. How does this philosophy guide the way you approach your leadership, your success, and even just a Monday morning?
Great question to start with. And so play every day is something that evolved from the notion of carpe diem. When I was college in the US, there were many of these gems which were taught to us or we were exposed to, and certainly this notion of living your life very intentionally, of making the most of every moment and not being just transactional or letting life carry on, but actually having some sort of intention. I think intention is the right word.
Yes.
Because if you think of it, Yvonne, once you start working, it's so easy to get caught up in the busyness of everyday life. And then days pass, weeks pass, months pass, and what have you actually achieved?
Yeah.
You know, one of my former CEOs used to say, don't mistake busyness with achievement.
I love that.
And that's so important, you know, so that's very tied into then thinking about what you do every day actually defines what you'll achieve.
Absolutely, and being so much more intentional can just improve the quality of your life. It's baby steps, I guess. And you've made a very bold statement that, the vulnerability of a brand is its biggest strength. I think today we're so obsessed with perfection, that sort of Instagrammable, filtered photo version of our lives. Why is it that you believe that looking at the cracks makes a brand or even a person more powerful?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you just look at human behavior, are we as interested in the lives of people who project themselves perfectly? Or do we get more interested when someone makes a mistake or someone's exposed for a big failure they had, how they deal with it, and hopefully how they come back strong? I think those cracks in personality make a person more interesting. Similarly, I think brands have realized that just as human beings, if they project themselves as too perfect or have a spin on everything, then consumers and their stakeholders may just think that they're same, bland, and not that interesting.
I absolutely love that, because I feel, well, at least I'm the kind of person where one thing goes out of place, I'm down and out, I beat myself up about it, but it's important to embrace that, acknowledge it, and then of course move on. And congratulations to you. You've just been promoted to President APAC at Landor, but I bet that that's not enough for you. You mustn't just be resting on your laurels. So what's next?
Thank you, Avan. But to clarify, I'm the kind of person who likes to bloom where they're planted.
Okay.
So I very much have my sights on doing an excellent job as president of APAC.
Which
I
I'm
got
sure you will.
promoted in August. But having said that, of course, you do have to think about where might you take your career next. If I'd pull back, I would say my strengths are strategic thinking, storytelling, leadership. Then it's a question of where is it I want to take those strengths. So some of the things I've played with are, how about being a global CEO of a company that's very brand-led? So luxury, hospitality, these are industries where brand has tremendous value, and given my experience with brand, I could lead that. Then there's, of course, teaching, writing, being a coach, mentoring women. That's another whole area. Or I could start a new age brand consultancy. Lots of people in our industry have left to create their own agencies, not just another agency, but really thinking about where clients are underserved and what the X factor of this agency could be. That's what I've done all my career. That's probably the easiest one to get into, but I'd love to be CEO of a brand-led business.
That all sounds so exciting. Can I sign up as a mentee already? All right, let's move on. Every leader has a moment that shifts their perspective, a challenge, an opportunity, or a lesson that changes the game. Here we'll dive into the defining moments that shaped Lulu's career and leadership philosophy in the segment, The Turning Point. It's lovely that you've been with Landor for over 24 years, and especially at a time when, people are sort of job hopping, and then we talk about maintaining that work-life balance as a woman. That is something that I want to touch upon as well. How is it that you managed to take on that role, and with all of these debates about 70-hour work weeks, etc., what is your opinion on maintaining work-life balance?
So firstly, in terms of staying at a company, it's probably in my genes. My dad worked for his company for 55 years. I think he didn't stop working till he was 77 or 78, and finally the company had to say, okay, now you need to take some rest. So I think he led by example. He was in one company, he went from shop floor trainee to executive director in India. I've also had conversations, and one particular conversation I've had with my uncle, R. Gopalakrishnan, who's quite well known in the corporate world. I went to him, I've gone to him several times and asked him career advice. And more recently, when I was managing director of Landor in India for almost 17 years, there were times when I said, should I be looking somewhere else? Should I be thinking of something else? And he gave me one very clear criteria. He said, Lulu, if you're waking up every morning and you're excited to go to work, you're challenged at work, if you feel like the company is giving you more responsibilities and you're valued and you're having fun, then please don't look anywhere else. Forget about what people are saying if they think it's boring because you're in the same industry, or forget about that restlessness that you have in you. You have a good thing going, you should value it and honor it.
So you should wake up motivated every morning. If you've got that sort of fire in your belly and you're not saying, oh, it's another Monday.
Exactly.
Then that's your sign?
Yeah, that is the sign. And that's also the thing that makes longer hours feel like it's less.
Yes.
For me, it's having a real honest assessment of how much value you're adding to your role, to your company.
Quality.
The quality of it, and you should know, because you should know what your company's goals are, you should know what your business unit's goals are, what your team goals are, and therefore you should take time out to collaborate how valuable you are. Are you adding the most value? Are you adding as much value as you can?
Fair enough. And can we touch upon the work-life balance, how you managed it, juggling all those balls?
Thanks. I think it's work-life play,
I love it. Okay.
right? In that sense that if you don't think of work as a burden and you're really enjoying it, you can do some play at work, and when you're at home, you make up, because sometimes you take calls on the weekends or you have a late meeting that you have to stay back at. Again, Avan, it goes back to whether you're adding incredible value, your company recognizes that you're adding incredible value, and therefore you have a little bit of that flexibility.
We spoke about the fact that this trend of job hopping has become a very cool thing to do right now, but you stuck it out at one company for years on end. You grew, you thrived in that environment. What would you say is the secret to not feeling like you're stuck and feeling like you're motivated and you want to grow?
I think it goes back to every day, play every day. It's seizing the day. Sometimes we're very pessimistic when we look back at the past, or we're quite critical of what's happened. Sometimes we're too eager and enthusiastic about the future. But if we actually just focus on the present and make the most of every day, there's bound to be a new challenge, right?
Yes.
So, like I always say, you wake up, you dress up, you show up. It's a new day, and there's bound to be new challenges, new things to learn. You have to bring a lot of curiosity to the workplace. Curious to learn about others, curious to know why something happened in a certain way. When you're curious and always learning, then every day can't be boring.
Curiosity, I like that. And if we were to talk about your approach, because you said that even when it comes to your goals, you're sort of a more go with the flow person. You don't have any major master plan of any kind. And right now when everyone's talking about what's your 5-year goal, what's the to-do list looking like, where do you think, or how do you think one can really draw the fine line between letting life happen and making things happen?
Going back to my dad, I think when I was 12 years old, because of seeing him and seeing my mom runs an NGO and she's the boss of the NGO, I think that whole desire to lead and be at the top of an organization was there. So while it was never an explicitly stated goal, directionally, I knew I just had to be propelling ahead and getting more and more responsibility. So that's the way I would say, Avan. I don't think you have to nail it down in terms of I need to be marketing director by age 37 and I need to have X lakhs in my bank account by so-and-so within a certain time frame. Just directionally, do you want to be leading? Do you want to be serving? Do you want a more relaxed life? Do you want to have a more full life? I think thinking about how you want your days, coming back to the days to pass, gives you direction.
All right, I want to now shift gears to our next segment, because financial independence isn't just about numbers. It's about empowerment, it's about confidence and control over one's future. So in this segment, we'll explore personal finance revelations, lessons learned, and the advice that can inspire the next generation in money matters. I want to talk about how you are with your time, because you're very mindful about your time, each of your goals, your passions, your dreams, all of that sort of gets a dedicated time slot. But financial empowerment and dealing with money, all of that as well plays a very big role. Was there any defining moment that you had that made you realize that being financially independent isn't just a nice thing to have, but it's non-negotiable?
Oh, yes, absolutely. This is right after I got married. We were living in San Francisco. It was the height of Silicon Valley, the boom, and then the bust happened. My husband's startup went down under. He wanted to move back to India. I had just gotten my dream job at Landor, and I didn't want to move back. It was because I was earning and able to support us that we were able to stay on.
Wow.
And then, of course, he went to business school, then he got a job, we moved, all of that was okay. But that moment was pivotal because it highlighted my role in the relationship. And in the last 25 years, I'm going to be married 25 years this year, there have been moments where the fact that I've been earning and being able to contribute has been important. And so I learned that early on, and I never take that for granted, because I also believe that when a woman is financially independent, it's a great role model for her family. And when she contributes to the family, she contributes to the community and the society. So women's financial empowerment, independence, all of those are themes very close to my heart, and I've seen it myself. Had I not been independent, I would have lost my dream job, had to follow my husband, and who knows where I would have been today.
That's fantastic. And I want to sort of double tap on that financial independence when it comes to women, taking money matters into your own hands. Was there that one money move that you made that changed the game for you that you wish more women would take?
I think it probably comes to our approach to savings. It's easy to keep it in the bank. It's easy to put it into a savings deposit. But I think as a woman, we all should explore the best return for the savings that we have. And I don't think women actively do that enough. I had my aha moment, Yvonne. When my grandmother passed away, her two daughters realized that she was holding stock in one company since the 1970s. And she passed away 40 years after that. And the compounding impact of that stock that she was holding, she probably herself did not know when she passed away. And it was such a phenomenal gift to her two daughters. Wow. And that opened my eyes too to compounding interest, to long-term investments, not playing the market, and the importance of just stashing away money that compounds in the right instrument that gives you that level of comfort. I'm not saying you have to go for stocks and crypto and the craziest returns, but actually actively talk about it and discuss what's best for you. I don't think today, especially, I see enough people taking an active role, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't either till more recently, and also stashing it away and making sure it's in the right investment. It's very important to do that.
Yeah, I think actively discussing it would probably be the first step, and then of course taking action. So,
and my bankers tell me, sorry to interrupt, my bankers tell me that they are shocked how few corporate women actually do it. They leave it to their husbands or their fathers. I know we're all busy, and I am too, and it's not the most interesting thing for me to do. I have so many other things I'd like to spend my time on, but it's critical.
And you do it, and that's great.
So, I do it now. I have to say I didn't do it earlier.
It took a long time, and are you very intentional with your money? Because you say your time gets, and your goals, your dreams, you set out your time in a disciplined manner for that. When it comes to managing money, do you adopt that similar approach?
I would say somewhere in between.
Okay.
I'm not super indulgent, as in always shopping, eating out, buying expensive things. I think material things don't give me that much satisfaction. You want to have a few things, but you're not always looking for the best. I'm much more about experiential. Okay. But then I do splurge on experiences sometimes. I have two daughters who are teenagers, so you can imagine, exactly the spending that they might want to do, and I need to take a call on whether that can happen or not. And so, so not super conservative, but not super over the top. Just try to be quite balanced. I think my parents had a very simple upbringing. We needed very little in those days. And so I think that DNA is still in me.
I think same, but I always worry about the next generation, and it's so important to inculcate those values. Let's move on then. And we all have that one moment where we realize the true value of financial security, whether it's through personal experience or professional insight. So we want to talk about that aha moment, how it shaped her approach to financial planning. This is the Insurance Eureka. You know, we're at a time when we're insuring our homes, our cars, even our phones. But when is it that you realized that the most important thing is your health, and that is going to be one of the biggest assets that needs to be protected? Was there any moment that you decided, or when did you realize that the importance of insurance?
Great question. I started talking very seriously about personal branding from 2015 onwards. I was doing lots of workshops, and in those workshops, I was talking about the interconnectedness between how you sleep, what the choices you make related to food, which then relates to how much energy you have, which then relates to creativity and productivity. So in a sense, Avan, I was saying that they're all interrelated. You can't have a thriving career if you don't sleep well, you don't look after your health and, make good choices on food, etc. That's when, this whole importance of brand you, I actually said, you know what, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. That was super important. And also, having been in the US, having studied there, having lived and worked there, in the US, insurance is everything. You've got to insure your car, if you don't have health insurance, God forbid. In India, and I was so shocked initially to learn how underpenetrated India is when it comes to insurance. Somehow our mindset seems to be, it's never going to happen to us. But I've seen it happen to too many people. Quite a wealthy friend of ours, his wife had an aneurysm and was in coma for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then went to Switzerland and the US for rehab, etc. Had he not had insurance, and he'd taken the highest level insurance, just for some reason, maybe some intuitive reason, I don't know, he had it and he had it covered. Otherwise, all his earnings would have been totally wiped out. And I've seen this play out many times, and I keep telling my parents as well, my dad did take insurance when he was in his 50s, but senior citizens, if you don't do it early on, you can't then get insured when you're 70 years old.
Yes.
And I see some of my friends struggle on that with their parents. So yeah, hugely important. It's the core. And of course, your health is the most important driver of your energy. And I think your energy is a determinant of your success. So it's all interlinked.
Absolutely. And if you had sort of a messaging for women, especially when it comes to insurance, when it comes to financial security, what would be the messaging that you want to pass on?
Something that's very current today is self-care.
Yes.
Where it's about taking time out for yourself, making sure that, and women are prone to this, right? We look after our kids, we look after our parents, we look after our husband, the extended family, friends. We don't take care of ourselves. That narrative is changing, where women are giving more time to themselves. Corollary of that is to make sure that, your health is covered, anything that's important to you is covered. So I would say, the key message there is self-care. Invest in yourself, just as you are thinking about financial freedom and financial wealth and all of that. Insurance is an important part of that equation.
इन्होंने हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस नहीं लिया और हॉस्पिटल्स के लाखों के बिल चुकाने में अपनी सारी सेविंग्स गवा दी। और इन्होंने पॉलिसी बाजार से हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस लिया, जेब से एक भी पैसा खर्च नहीं हुआ, और पॉलिसी बाजार ने कैशलेस क्लेम दिलवाने में इनको पूरा सपोर्ट किया। तो रिस्क मत लो, पॉलिसी बाजार से 1 करोड़ का हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 360 रुपए महीने से शुरू।
Okay, that's been so valuable as a lesson, Lulu, but I want to sort of turn things around, spice things up. We've got a sort of quick hits, a PB quick hits round, where it's going to be a lively rapid fire. So no overthinking, just whatever sort of comes to your mind. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go. You said that vulnerability is the greatest strength. Was there any one moment that you embraced vulnerability that was a game changer for you?
Yes. 10 years ago, I was deplaned from an Indigo flight because I lost my boarding pass. And a colleague of mine who was junior to me, but was striving to get ahead in the organization, had to go do a pitch. And for the first time, we'd worked together for 5 years. For the first time, I wasn't in the room. And she succeeded, and she succeeded superbly.
Okay.
The whole weight of me not being there had been lifted. And she became a different person. She took control, she seized herself. So for me, the penny drop was, you're not as important as you think. Get out of the way to let others grow.
If you had to sum up your leadership style in a hashtag or a few words, what would it be?
It would be hashtag gentle force.
I think that should be every woman's mantra. Your morning routine must have, is it coffee, is it yoga, is it emails, meditation?
So first thing is exercise.
If there's one piece of advice that you could give your younger self, what would it be?
I would say don't be so self-critical. I think as women, we doubt ourselves too much. We're so critical. We want to be that perfect person. Right? We want to do things so perfectly. But I would embrace imperfection more and go with the flow.
Lulu, it has been such a pleasure and I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I think I'm going to re-listen, take down pointers. So thank you so much for being so patient. It's really been a masterclass in resilience and reinventing oneself. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Avan. Real pleasure to chat with you today.
हॉस्पिटल में एडमिट हुए नहीं कि बिल का मीटर चालू, और ये मीटर पहले आपके ऑफिस का हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस खत्म करेगा और फिर सारी सेविंग्स। पर घबराओ नहीं, पॉलिसी बाजार पे 1 करोड़ का हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 390 रुपए महीने से शुरू। ले लो।
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a wrap on this episode of Over to Her, where ambition meets action and leadership isn't just talked about, it's lived. From shaping global brands to mentoring the next generation of leaders, Lulu has shown us that success isn't just about the title, it's about the impact that you make along the way. For everyone listening, whether you're carving out your career, breaking barriers, or just getting started on your journey to financial independence, remember this. Your growth, your power, your legacy, it all starts with you. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay bold, stay unstoppable, and until next time, it's over to you. Thanks for watching.